What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get on to the topic for today, I would love for you to do a few things. Hit the like button, subscribe button, the share button, bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then leave me a comment below when you are finished watching this video. That way I can get back to whatever it is that you had to say to me. For today's topic, I want to talk about how being pro-black allows you to see the bigger picture, and all those who are not pro-black just major in the minors. A lot of people do not like the term pro-black because, let's be real, the term pro-black has been co-opted quite a bit. But from my perspective, the definition is very simple. Being pro-black means to put black people first in every regard and in every area of activity. Now, some people may hear me say this term and they'll think, well, Cool Colas, does that mean that you shouldn't buy from non-black businesses? Like, what exactly does that mean? And for anybody who's saying that, my whole point to that would be, there's no way to escape having to participate in something that is not black owned in a system of white supremacy. So that's unavoidable. But what I am saying is that we make black people a priority in regards to allowing them to have more ownership of these things in these different areas of activities that we all exist in. And so the whole idea is for there to be this equity that black people should have. In other words, we should be able to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. In other words, we should not have to be dominated by a system of white supremacy in these different areas. It should be black people are, again, not having an issue with being dominated by a presence of people on a basis of race. So the way that we do that is to empower black people in these different spaces and make these different areas better for black people to thrive in and to live and to function. Now, when I say that part of being pro-black means that you think in the big picture, it means that you understand what the root issues are and you're not just tackling the branches. And one thing that I've noticed just in my life in general is that most of the people that I butt heads with are people who literally major in the minors. And it's actually become one of my biggest pet peeves. I cannot stand when somebody takes time to nitpick at things that are not the root issue. That doesn't mean that we don't have a place for important details, critical details, that type of thing. But we need to really understand what the root problem is. Anybody who has listened to Neely Fuller Jr. or has read any of his books knows that he explicitly pointed out that if you do not solve the issue of race, you cannot solve any other issue. And what I've noticed in our world is that people like to focus on other issues outside of the issue of race. As a matter of fact, I think people just try to avoid it altogether. I mean, you literally have to vet people and see how comfortable they are even talking about race, let alone trying to talk about replacing the system of white supremacy with a system of justice. And I'm not talking about from one race to another, black people talking to white people and that type of thing. I'm talking about black people even having a conversation with other black people. People really don't want to touch on that subject, but that is really the root of the problem. And there's a couple reasons why I believe people do not want to touch on this subject. The first reason is out of fear. They think that if they talk about these different things, they're either going to be seen as divisive. They think that something's going to happen to them because white people are going to do something to them or whatever the case may be, or they may lose some type of position or opportunity if they get caught talking about these things in a certain way, or they have been so brainwashed that they actually believe that race is not an issue whatsoever. So that's one reason why people tend to avoid the issue, and that's why they try to major in the minors. The second thing, and this is somewhat of a piggyback off of the first thing, is they feel a sense of powerlessness, and it's a way for them to be able to feel power again since they really can't solve the main issue. So they start trying to attack other little things. That's why people will focus on things such as sex, they'll focus on things such as religion, they'll focus on things such as class. Again, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying any of these things are issues. What I am simply saying is they won't focus on race, which is the epicenter of why all these other things are actually problems in the first place. So I think that a lot of people try to feel power again by majoring in the minors. The other thing too is I think a lot of people are very posturing. So this is my third reason. People are very posturing, especially that shea butter samba crowd. A lot of people want to have this aesthetic of looking smart instead of actually being smart. So their whole idea is to create a gimmick out of them being able to one up people and for them to create a big audience who believes them, even if what they're telling is completely lies, right? So the big thing is that majoring in the minors helps them to be able to defend their nonsense versus actually addressing real problems. So for those of you all who don't really understand what majoring in the minors means, it's basically when someone spends an extremely large amount of time focusing on things pertaining to a subject, a topic, or issue that are very unimportant to the actual topic or to the problem that's being presented. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say that I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, I'm pissed the fuck off because my red blanket is on fire. And then some fool comes back and they say, your blanket isn't red, it's crimson. I can't stand that bullshit. And that's what a lot of you goofy ass Negroids do. You go on and on and on about things that are seriously not important and focus on other problems because you're too damn dumb to focus on what the real issue is. Or you're too fucking scared. You're too coward-like. So a lot of times what some of you all will do is literally focus on something else outside of the actual racial problem. And I've been seeing that quite a bit. It's a way to cause a distraction because you feel powerlessness in talking about an issue that really should be handled at the forefront. And you know, I've been seeing a lot of majoring in the minors when it comes to this whole political thing with Kamala Harris. A lot of y'all really just want to vote for her because you're trying not to call attention to some of the other problems that are going on, right? You don't want to call attention to the fact that you're a coward. You don't want to call attention to the fact that you are, again, voting because someone had bullied you into it. You're not trying to focus on the fact that you're trying to do everything in your power to do everything but address the issue of race, reparations, and the things that black people, specifically foundational black Americans, are owed. That's why a lot of y'all will go on and talk about Project 2025, like a lot of these issues haven't been talked about millions and billions of times in the past. Y'all still talk about issues with women, issues with Trump. We don't like Trump. We don't want him in office. We saw what he did when he was a president and all this other stuff, and conflating a bunch of shit that really has really nothing to do with black people specifically. And so I had a few people who actually commented on some of my content recently, and they were expressing how they do not want to be one issue voters when it comes to, politics and things like that. And I think that they were inferring that I, as a person who supports reparations, am a one issue voter. And the thing that they're missing from this is that our big thing as pro-blacks is that we believe in not voting for people if they don't give black people tangibles. We say no reparations, no vote, because that's a hard boundary. But what we really mean is that having a reparations campaign is the bare minimum. What we're also asking for is a solid campaign that addresses other things that black people need, such as an anti-black hate crime bill, the ability for black people to become an ethno-aggregate society, funding black-owned businesses, and much more. So we're not just tackling the issue of reparations, although reparations is an issue that can tackle many of the other problems that are actually being discussed, again, in the minors. So what I'm finding is that a lot of people are trying to focus on these other things because they don't believe that they're going to get anything. And if you have that attitude that you believe we're not going to get anything, then we're not. That's just the reality. And what ends up happening is every single time there is a presidential election, it's going to be the same old thing. I fear this is going to happen. I fear that's going to happen. I fear this thing is going to go on. I fear that thing is going to go on. And what that entails is that you are so focused on the things that are not related to helping black people that you literally never focus on things that are supposed to be for black people exclusively. So it becomes somewhat of a hamster wheel. Like, it's become cyclical because you spend all that time, every 4 years, focusing on things that have nothing to do with black folks. So the problem that pertains to black people just continues to not happen. And what it does is it incentivizes the dominant society and these speculated white supremacists to say, oh, look at all the time that's going on. So why can't we just sweep this under a rug? You know how y'all's girl Jane Elliott did, where she said that we need to just start over with a clean slate. They'll try to push that more and more and more, the more as time goes by. And that's why we need to demand the things that we as black people are owed. Now, I wasn't even trying to make this a political conversation. I simply am making the point that the thing about us as pro-black people is that we understand the sheer importance of looking at what is the biggest thing that needs to be handled. And we handle it. We don't spend time bitching about things that are going to continue to be a problem. It's kind of like having some type of sickness. Like, let's say that you have the flu, for example, or even just a common cold, And you're like, I'm sneezing, I'm coughing, I'm hacking and shit. I'm looking nasty as fuck. You know how it goes. And instead of getting rest, drinking water, taking vitamins, taking real orange juice, taking sea moss, things that are actually going to heal you, what do you say? I'm gonna take me this cough syrup real quick, and I'm gonna doze off and clear up the symptoms. Or I'll take antibiotics. But you never actually take the things that are going to help your immune system so that you actually get better. So that's how you have to almost kind of look at it. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say, and I definitely will have more to come. So make sure that you stay tuned. I'll be talking to you later. Peace.